Every time I get my paycheck for my job, I get really happy, as is the case for most people. You bust your ass off for about 8 hours a day, sometimes more depending on what your schedule is, or if you had any overtime for that week, or whatever. You work 40 hours a week, at least here in America. You work 40 hours a week, you put in your time, and once you've put in your time, you get paid, hopefully handsomely. And when you get that paycheck, you use that paycheck to pay your bills and any other responsibilities that you have that you got to pay off. And whatever you have left is the extra that you pocket for yourself and use it in whatever way you deem necessary. And among those things, for me personally, sometimes we like to browse the internet and see what kind of weird shit we want to buy from the internet. If we see something on Amazon that that tickles your fancy, you buy that. Or if you go on, or in my case as a gamer, I enjoy going on Steam and browsing through the catalog to see what exciting new game I've come across and what I want to dump a couple of my old dollaroos on and leave that game most likely in my Steam library collecting virtual dust. Okay, sometimes I will actually play the game. I mean, my Steam Deck is here for that reason as well, and when I just don't feel like booting up the PC. But the real thing is that if you make your money, that's your money. That money, if you're getting like direct deposits, goes to your bank. That way you don't have the whole physical check with you, and then you got to figure out where to deposit it, and you're like, I need somewhere to put my money in. I mean, you have a bank for the purpose of storing your money somewhere, so you don't do the Mr. Krabs thing and store it under your mattress or put it in the safe or something, because, God forbid, your mattress gets burned alive or something. Oh, burned alive. Your mattress gets burned up in a fire or something, or you put in a safe and, burglars come in and steal your safe or something. Even if they can't crack it open because they don't know the combination or they don't have the key to it, they'll probably find a way to break into it. Probably. Who knows? Unless they're stupid burglars, which, there is a lot of stupid burglars. But either way, you put your money in the bank, and when you get your money in the bank, you put it into something like a checking or a savings account. Checking, of course, if you want to spend that money on something immediately. Like I said, browsing Amazon, browsing an online seller, or even going to a store, a brick and mortar store. You go in there, you want to buy something, or you go, buy yourself something to eat or something like that. A quick snack or something. Or if you're someone who consumes entertainment, you want to spend that money on if you're somebody who still buys Blu-rays, you spend it on that. Or if you have like a subscription to something, you spend it on that subscription. Or if you want to buy video games and you still play on consoles with physical discs, then you want to buy that game on a physical disc. Or if you're playing digitally, like in the case of most PC gamers, you're going on Steam or on GOG, or if you're of the weird type of human, you use Epic, which to my knowledge I don't know anyone who uses Epic. I only use it for Fortnite and Marvel Rivals because it's kind of stuck there because there's no cross progression. But anyway, when you're gonna go spend your money that you've worked your ass off to get, you would expect that you just simply put in your payment information, whether it's you're paying directly with a card or a bank account, or you're using some kind of payment processing system like PayPal or Amazon Pay or Google Pay or one of these things, so you can buy your game or its microtransactions or whatever. You expect it to go through smoothly and all is well. You get your game, your item, or whatever. But apparently for the two largest card companies in the world, Visa and MasterCard, that doesn't seem to be the case. Not in the realm of buying 18 plus content, apparently. Now, some people would say, "Oh, why are you so heated up about not being able to purchase 18 plus content with a Visa or a MasterCard? Because why should a card company be the one to dictate how you, as an American adult, or just as an adult in general, should be able to spend their money? How are they allowed to dictate that?" In my personal honest opinion, it is a little weird how Visa and MasterCard have a duopoly on card companies on this earth. And they're both American companies, mind you. I've argued for quite some time that I think Visa and MasterCard should really be split up at this point. They should not be allowed to exist anymore. They should be split up into multiple smaller card companies. I mean, other countries around the world are already inventing their own payment processing systems to get around the nuisance that is Visa and MasterCard. I mean, when these companies are run by, normal, sane human beings with, that are of the mindset of, yes, we are just here to facilitate the process of you being able to buy something with our card services. That's all fine and dandy. But sometimes these companies can be run by, righteous idiots who, quote-unquote righteous idiots who think that they're on some sort of crusade to, make everything look squeaky clean and as boring and corporate as humanly possible. And that apparently seems to extend to their clientele. It's like, Visa and MasterCard, when you are two of the largest card companies on Earth, you have no right to tell consumers what it is they can spend their money on. It is my money, I worked my ass off throughout the week, and I want to spend it on whatever the fuck I want to spend it on. Even if it's something like a Gooner game, for example. Now, yours truly, on my Steam account, I have games that range from all types of games. I got shooters, third-person shooters, I got strategy, RPG, JRPG, simulation, even the occasional Gooner game. I have all sorts of games in my gigantic Steam library that I've accumulated over the past years. And, I use payment processing systems because there's no other way around it. You need to use one of these services to be able to buy something, especially in this day and age where digital purchases are a very common thing. Not just digital, but also if you're going to buy something off Amazon. If I want to buy like for example, I bought a device for my controller the other day that is supposed to be used for one of those devices where you hook your controller up to it and then you put your phone on it because it makes playing COD Mobile on my phone significantly easier because I really don't like using Game Loop. Now, I bought something like this on Amazon. Now, this isn't something that's 18 plus, but my point is that if you want to buy something that's adult content, you should have every right to do so. I see people online saying, "Oh, then how come I can't buy an 18 plus anime game or something on Steam, but I can go ahead and dump all my money on some OnlyFans hoe?" Well, I mean, that's for now until the payment processors start bitching about that as well, or the card companies start bitching about that as well. And by all means, I have my issues with the way OnlyFans is, but at the same time, it's a business. It's not doing anything illegal. You should be able to spend your money on an OnlyFans e-whore if you want. If you want to spend your money on that, you should have every right to do so. It's your money. You worked your 9 to 5 earning that money. You deserve to be able to spend that money however you see fit. If what you're buying is perfectly legal, then by all means, there is no company, no corporation should have a right to tell you, the consumer, like, "Oh, I don't think you should be able to buy this with our service because it is morally objectionable because it's adult content, and it's adult content that we don't approve of." I know a lot of the games that recently were removed on Steam because Valve seems to have bent over for the large card companies like Visa and MasterCard. They removed a lot of 18 plus games. I noticed on SteamDB there are a lot of incest heavy 18 plus games, which, I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but these games were on Steam. They were made by some indie dev who wanted to put their vision out there on Steam, even if it is a vision that's a little Sweet Home Alabama, but it is someone's vision, and they want to put it out there and make a couple bucks on it, and they should have every right to do so. If it's if it's something that's perfectly legal and it's on Steam and Valve greenlit it to be on Steam, they have every right to have their game there. Unless because most of these indie developers don't have their own way of publishing their own games. Some do. Some might have to take out a website domain and be able to sell it on their own website in some capacity. But even then, Steam is just the convenient method to do it. And when Valve is bending over to these large corporations like Visa and MasterCard, and I get Valve's position. If you are not within the good graces of Visa and MasterCard, you ain't gonna, your business is not gonna be able to do well. Like, I know here in America we have American Express, and I think Discover is the other, big card company that exists, but these card companies are, at least here in the US, Visa and MasterCard are international, and Steam is an international company. They got business everywhere. I know the one case of where they obviously ain't got much of a foothold in, but, well, they do have a foothold there, but the payment, the big card companies don't really have much of a foot there as in China. China does their own thing with like Alipay and and Weixin Pay and all these other types of pays that exist. I think QQ is another one that exists over in China. I may be a little wrong on these. My knowledge is based on what I've learned over the past couple of days trying to navigate COD Mobile, the Chinese version of COD Mobile. But to my knowledge, the Chinese do have their own payment processing systems that are completely independent, because of course Visa and MasterCard being American companies, it's kind of a little bit of a tricky situation to do business in a country like China that the American government has a huge paranoia about. But no, like, if you're gonna be spending your money on something, Visa and MasterCard should not have any right to tell you what to do. Either fuck off and let the consumers spend their money how they see fit, or if our government actually had balls, break up these companies. Break them up into smaller companies. It's a duopoly at this point. Yeah, American Express and Discover exist here, and yeah, there's other card companies that exist in other parts of the world, but let's just be honest, if your business is not using Visa and MasterCard for their payment services, the business is going to collapse. If you're not within their good graces, your business will not succeed, because if you can't take Visa or MasterCard, you basically just can't accept 90% of the customers that you get, or maybe 95 depending on where you're at in the world, and that's kind of a problem. That is the textbook definition of a duopoly, because really these are the only two companies that you have the choices of. It's you either pick red and yellow, or you pick blue and yellow. You pick MasterCard or you pick Visa. You get no other option. If you do decide to pick the other options, congratulations to you. But of course it also depends on what kind of deals you're able to get among the different card issuers. Some card issuers may give companies or businesses a good deal, others may not. So really, Visa and MasterCard are the go-to for everybody. And the problem is, because they're on such a high pedestal at this point, they are just the standard for the world. They think that they're hot shit and can basically just tell the world what they can and can't do with their money. I recall that a lot of these indie games that are getting told no, that they can't be on Steam anymore because of their content, usually end up being Japanese games, which I am aware that the Japanese gaming industry has a huge thing for 18+ content. And again, it is kind of a little. I'm not saying it's overtly racist, but it is kind of oddly racially motivated that two companies that take so much pride in being diverse and inclusive are very not diverse and inclusive on allowing Japanese video game developers to have their games on Steam, and getting money used through Visa and MasterCard. Kind of a little sus, don't you think? If you're all about diversity and inclusion, if you're higher ups at these companies, if they're all about that bullshit, then you should be allowing diverse and inclusive games from around the world. And Japan, having Japanese games, these are pretty diverse and inclusive games. It's something different than our whole America-centric mindset over here in the West, or at least here in the U.S. We should be open to allowing these types of games. Because it's their culture, it's their gaming industry, it's their gaming culture. It's how Japan views entertainment compared to us. We should be more open-minded about it. Isn't that what diversity and culture claims to be preaching all the time? I'm just saying. But no, as someone who's known about the duopoly of Visa and MasterCard for quite some time, I always found it kind of odd how they were never broken up. Because they really should be broken up. Companies should not be allowed to get that big. If you're that big, you need to be broken up. A monopoly is already illegal to begin with, but a duopoly should also be illegal. It's also one of my huge complaints with the telecom companies here. We should not have telecom companies just be Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Like if it gets to the point where it's just two companies, the government really needs to step in to start breaking things up, because that just completely prevents any form of healthy competition or any actual form of proper capitalism from taking place. Because if a business wants to do, in the case of the card companies, if a business wants to start itself up, not every business is able to take cash, and not everybody is carrying cash, especially in the developed world, especially here in the United States. Not everybody's going to be carrying cash. A lot of people are going to be carrying cards on them, because we're just America is a very card-based society. Now, we prefer to use cards for everything because, carrying cash on you, it's not a good thing at times because, well, yeah, it's good for other things, but at other times it's not very good because if you drop your wallet out there, somebody has access to the money that you have in there. I mean, they have access to it with your cards, but if you realize that you lost your cards, you could just shut your card off. Make sure that, nobody, no random thug on the streets is able to use your money. Because you shut off the card. That's one of the nice things about using a card. Of course, obviously, one of the bad things is that there's all sorts of weird fees if you decide to use your cards overseas and all that other bullshit, but for the most part, it's convenient. It's a sense of convenience. And they're also great for online pay. When the two biggest card companies on the planet are out here dictating what we can and can't spend our own hard-earned money on because the middleman, the card issuer, is in the way saying, oh, like, I don't approve of you buying I don't know, some kind of weird hentai game on Steam. This isn't how we morally view things. This isn't our moral views on society and all that here at Visa and MasterCard. Well, Visa and MasterCard, tough tits. Your only purpose should be to simply facilitate the process for me to buy something on the internet. Not to tell me what you think I should and shouldn't buy. If that's your mindset, you can royally get fucked in the ass. And I am so thankful that other parts of the world are finally coming to terms with this and realizing maybe we should make some kind of alternative to Visa and MasterCard. And I'm also glad for the rise in crypto in this sense, because it gives some kind of alternative payment method to having to use these two jackass companies. Hopefully, I have a personal hatred of censorship of things. I don't like things being censored, because, if somebody wants to say something, no matter how stupid or how fucked up it is, they should have the ability to say it. It's their vision. If it's fully within, legal confines and all that, then by all means, say it, show it, do it. If it's legal, you can go ahead and do it. It's your First Amendment right. At least here in the United States, maybe not in other parts of the world, but in other parts of the world, there's something similar to free speech. You should have a right to do it. And at least in the case of here in the United States, with companies like Visa and MasterCard, two American companies, they shouldn't be telling Americans, when they know damn well they're a duopoly at this point, they should not be telling Americans and the whole world in general what everyone can and can't spend their money on. If you're an American company, I think you should be beholden to the Constitution. It's the First Amendment. And not just for Americans only, but for the rest of the world. If you're a company based in the United States, people want to spend their money on what they want to spend their money on. If it's something that's completely legal to spend your money on, then by all means, you should allow them to spend their money on that. That is your only purpose as a card company. You are not some sort of moral dictator of... you're not the morality police. You're a card company. Act like one. If you won't, then kindly step aside and fuck off. Anyways, that's my little rambling here about the card companies. Really, they should be split up. Anyways, thank you for watching this video, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.